Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Nathan Graves Show. With me, your host, Nathan Graves. And in the past few shows, I've interviewed different content creators, from parody makers, from video game reviewers, and even a professional gamer at one point. But I've never interviewed a musician. And, well, that's going to change today because I have here the creator of epic game music, my good buddy, James Ronald.
Hey Nate, thanks for having me, and thanks for that stellar intro.
And thank you once again for your time, James.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, for the few people at home who don't know who you are and don't know what epic game music is, why don't you give a little brief introduction about yourself and what epic game music is?
Well, my name is James, and I have a show on Retroware and YouTube called Epic Game Music. And basically what it is I take game music that we all know and love, and I redo it with drums, bass, guitar, and on top of that, I make a little music video for it. So yeah, that basically sums it up.
Now, how did you start getting into music?
How did I start getting into music? Well, from when I was a kid, at least in Toronto, it's like you're supposed to, in like smaller grades, like grade 3, learn the recorder. So that was my first dabble with music. But it wasn't until like grade 7 or 8 where I was classically trained in the trombone. And I really sucked at that, like really badly. But I kept doing it for like 7 years. Then I sort of fell out of love with it and went on to other things just because I wasn't that great. And one day I borrowed my friend's guitar, and for some reason it all made sense to me there. Like I was just able to pick it up and just start playing it, and since then I've been going. So yeah, that's basically a little bit of my musical background on that.
Now, is there any other musicians in your family, or are you the only one?
Actually, my mom is a really good vocalist. She plays the keyboard and she can rock the bass guitar as well. So, of course, there was that influence growing up.
What made you decide to create epic game music? And, like, why specifically video game music to do covers of?
Yeah, well, that was a really interesting choice because, like, I've always played video game music. I've always appreciated it. But yeah, just playing it on the guitar a bit, it slowly came to fruition that way. I just started to dabble. Then I started to learn the covers more and more. And like, since I've heard these songs a million times, it came naturally to play. But for a long while, I was in a touring band called the Delinquents for about 10 years. And near the end of doing that, that's when I started to make YouTube videos because I saw what other people were doing. I think the guy's name is Caleb Elijah, and he's on GameTabs.net. I was just impressed by all his work doing Chrono Trigger covers, and that really inspired me. So I started off doing videos of like there was no actual video, there was just a background. Then eventually I got this camera for my birthday, this crappy little point and shoot. And after I was finished with it, I started to cut together videos of that, and you'll probably look back at my Elecman cover, and that's the first one you can call an epic game music, or an episode of epic game music.
What's the process that you go through with making a epic game music episode?
That's a tough one. Like, it'll be a song that's been on my mind for a long time from my childhood. Usually, that's why I do the older covers. So I'll start with that, and like, if I pick an old song like that, I usually know it. I can play it instantly. So I'll start working together the melody, the main part, and then I'll start arranging the chords and everything like that, and just how it'll go. Then the drums, then the bass. So actually, I'm sort of working backwards because normally with music you start with the drums and the bass, but this I start with the melody and work backwards towards that. Yeah, so recording it, that basically goes as standard like that. Then as far as the video, the video normally takes one day to make. I'll wake up 6 in the morning, go out, film it at various locations, and yeah, come back, edit it, and try and upload it all in the same day. Just because I like to keep a brisk pace with that, and I try and put them out once a week. So definitely the music takes longer as well than the video.
Now, all the covers, do you look online for like different tabs and then play like that, or do you just play it by ear or write everything yourself?
Sometimes I'll go for tabs. Near the beginning, there was a website I used called GameTabs.net, which I mentioned before. They're really good, and they have a really good community as far as learning songs. But generally, like, I adapt the parts, so I have to rearrange them because most of the 8-bit ones, there's barely anything to work with. You know, there's just a bass line, drums, and the melody. So yeah, you sort of have to expand that. So actually, probably around 20% of each one is the original tune. Then the rest of it is just parts I've added on to it.
What has been your favorite song to play for Epic Game Music?
That's a really tough one. Hold on. I actually have my song list up here. I'm just gonna check. Just off the top of my head, I'm gonna say the Ultimate Tetris Medley, but just because that was so interesting to get from like point A to point B as far as arranging all of the Tetris music I know. But anything from Final Fantasy IV, because that's my favorite game of all times. So yeah, that like any cover from that I really like to do. Probably of the newer ones. The Pro Jared theme was actually fun to go out and film. I wouldn't say necessarily the funnest to cover, but to go out and film, that was probably the best one, just because like I had to trek through the forest for 20 minutes and just get through that. So yeah. So yeah. So that's about it for that.
No, in some of the covers, it's more than just guitar. There's also drums and bass. Do you play all of the instruments, or do you have somebody else helping you with that?
I can play the drums really, really, really shittily, but how I do it is I have pre-made drum samples where they're real drums, but like it's the snare and the kick and the toms and the hi-hat and everything done separately, so I can sit there and put them in a loop. As far as bass, I can play the bass. I can play the bass pretty well. Not as well as I play the guitar, but I use MIDI simply because it's easier to mix. Just because it's not an actual like tangible sound. It's just data. So I can do anything I want with it, and it's just easier like that to record and produce. But I do plan on upping the scale of that, and I do plan on getting better drum samples, and I have a new audio unit in which I'm going to start tracking live bass on. It'll take me a bit longer to do things, but I think the sound will sound really good.
Now, stepping aside from music, at least for a little bit, and let's
Sure.
go more towards video games.
Oh, of course.
I like video games, and it's pretty apparent that you like video games as well.
Do I? Mm.
What's the first video game you remember playing?
The first video game I ever remember playing was the Mario Brothers Duck Hunt cart, and it was Mario Brothers. I think I was around 3, so the memory isn't too good, but it's there. That's like one of the most defining things, of my life. That's what got me started with everything. But yeah, I was very terrible at it, clearly. But yeah, my mom brought home an original Nintendo, and she was probably playing it more than I was back then. She still does. She still plays all the systems. But yeah, that's Mario Brothers. And I don't know if you've noticed with some of my videos, I'm really all about Mario, so that could have something to do with it. It going back that far.
What can you say is your favorite video game?
My favorite video game of all times is Final Fantasy IV for the Super Nintendo. Just story wise and music especially. Like that guy could write a score like nothing else. Um, but I, I don't know why, but it just stuck with me the most. I play it at least once a year. Um, yeah, so just story, music, and the sprites and the graphics. They have a really good charm to it. When they released it for the DS and they did the 3D sprites, like that was good, but it just lost a lot of the charm to it that the 2D sprites had.
Now, what's a video game that everybody likes that you're not a particular fan of?
That's a tough one that I'm not. Um, you see, I don't follow too many modern games because I don't have really the time. Just because I'm doing this, I have a full time job, or not a full time job, I have a part time job. Plus, I DJ and do all this other stuff. But one game that everyone's all about, I probably like one of the online multiplayer ones, like World of Warcraft or League of Legends, or like even Final Fantasy 14 or something like that. Aside from that, I'm just trying to think. There's probably a bunch. But yeah, they just can't come to mind right now.
Is there anything that you're currently playing right now?
Right now, I've been playing Mutant Mudds for a bit, and I'm really liking that because I'm more inclined to platformers, and it's a really good one. It because the game works. It's a platform, but there's different depths. There's foreground, center, and background. Uh, and yeah, it's just the level design is really good. I'm also playing Link Between Worlds, which I think is really good. Just with it being out of order, and you have to figure out like it's more of an adventure field because you have to figure out what to do. They don't tell you what to do, which does take away from the story a bit. But they've designed it so that anything that is story can be done out of order as well. So it's different. It's different each time you're gonna play it. So yeah, that's what I've been playing recently.
Back in the day of the NES, they
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of the games had memorable music, like your Mario themes, like Castlevania, Moon theme from DuckTales, and
Mm-hmm.
lately you just don't hear that many memorable themes that like really stick out like they did back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is? Do you think there's just less focus on the music just because of how advanced the technology is now, and like the game creators just want to focus on like the visuals?
A lot of it is because the game's more cinematic, and so the music is a lot less anthemic. Like you just need a mood, or you need the music to swell at a certain point. So putting a theme in there doesn't make sense. Now, does that detract from the game? Of course, because the music is the most iconic part. For example, I think not a lot of people like people would have played the first Mega Man, but I don't think people would have came back and kept playing it if it wasn't for the awesome music. Same thing would go for Final Fantasy. Without the music, those games don't work. There are a few exceptions to the rule with the modern day, but they're usually Mario games. They're usually throwback games uh, that do have the anthemic music. But yeah, it normally just comes from that. Yeah, it's a conscious decision on the devs' part to have the music more atmosphere.
And which games do you think best has some of the best music out of everything?
Okay, that's a fairly large question, but as I said, Final Fantasy IV. That's my favorite. Like anything from Final Fantasy, even today, Final Fantasy still has the greatest music. Mega Man, spectacular music. I gotta say, like Mega Man 3 and 9, out of all of those, probably have the best soundtrack as far as composition. Earthbound. Earthbound, great music because it's not classically what anyone would have done at any point. Like, it's off on its own, but it all musically makes sense, and it's all tied together by a theme, as weird as that theme may be. I'm just Legend of Zelda. I seem to be naming a lot of Nintendo stuff, but they're really good about making iconic music. Like, even you look at the Wii U music menu or the Wii music menu, it's like that stuff is memorable. Let me think what else. So Final Fantasy, Zelda. Yeah, that's all that comes to mind. And stuff like Castlevania. You know.
Need some more Castlevania Epic Game music. Just saying.
Yeah, there you go.
Just saying.
I'm gonna get on that. There's like 3 already, so.
Dude, there should be like 20 now.
Yeah, exactly. Wait for Halloween, and that's when I have my like Spooktoberfest, and that's when the magic comes out as far as Castlevanias.
How do you determine what song you're gonna play for Epic Game music?
That's actually pretty random of how I come up with that. A lot of it's like, sometimes I'll look in the comments section. Sometimes someone will hit me up on Twitter with something. Usually it's just something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Like, yeah, something that's been in my head, or it could be something that no one's done before. For example, no one had done a Metal Warriors cover, Metal Warriors for the NES. That is stellar music and is an underrated game in general. So that's why I did that. Same thing with Crystalis, or however you want to pronounce it. The field theme I really wanted to do for a long time, and no one had done it. So yeah, that's where I get most of the inspiration. But yeah, you'd be surprised. Like, I'll be halfway through doing a cover, and I'll look in the comments section, and someone's like, "Hey, you should do this tune," and I'll actually look at that, then go look at the cover, and be like, "Actually, screw what I'm working on. I'm gonna actually do this, this one that this person said." So you never know. you know, it's different week for week.
So you could just be thinking one day and then just think to yourself, I want to play this scene, and then you just go and do it.
Yeah, basically that's it. It's because when you start a project, you want to really get into it, right? So, if your mind's on something else and sort of distracted, it's not going to work. So you have to follow through with something you want to do.
Recently, actually, as of this recording, you were at MagFest like a couple weeks back.
Oh, was I ever?
What was that like?
Oh, Magfest is something else. I've been to a lot of conventions. I've been to Unplugged in Toronto. I've been to Con Bravo. I've even been to SGC. But I'd never seen anything on that scale of like 24,000 people. That's apparently the number of how many people that came through that weekend, the doors. But yeah, just the scale, like, and also not just the amount of people like to go and see me, but like there's also fellow content producers, and I got to meet almost everyone I've ever wanted to meet, and I got to hang out with them and talk with them, and it's really comfortable like that. Like, it's a really good con as far as like the accessibility of people, because like you still can go up and speak to them, whereas like, let's just say if it was like Fan Expo in Toronto, which is huge, it separates the personalities from the people. And yeah, when I was at MagFest, I got to stay in the Retroware suite and chill with all the Retroware guys, which is really cool. I just was able to talk to them online before, so it was really cool to hang out with people like Shane from Rerez, the Game Chasers, John and Lance, who are the dudes behind Retroware. There's too many people to name, but like, yeah, just that crew alone was awesome. I also got to hang out with Smooth McGroove, and he's a crazy good guy. Him and his like long ass beard, and totally bright colored pants. It's crazy. And yeah, I got to hang out with John Tron and James Nintendo Nerd and the Completionist and just people like that. It was totally crazy. But yeah, I probably had one of the best times of my life there.
As you just mentioned, you're a part of the Retroware TV family.
Yeah.
And how did John and Lance get in contact with you to be a part of Retroware?
Um, Lance actually got a hold of me uh, on my Facebook page because I didn't have a contact then, and asked if I'd be interested in doing that. And that, that came out of left field. That really shocked me, but like that was really cool. Like I have no idea before that, like how I had posted some stuff, but I don't know how really they found out or like their thought process in picking me, because there's a lot of talented people out there and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know why specifically they chose me, but like I was more than happy that happened. And yeah, everyone's been so nice, and it's just crazy because it's sort of like a family of people, and it totally feels good to be a part of that, knowing I can rely on these people, just like, and they'll just be sympathetic to content producing and just video games. You can chat video games, however long. Like clearly everyone knows the retro thing. Like, and also as far as retro gaming, I am the most green guy there. Like these people know their stuff. Just hearing them talk about it at Magfest, just how passionately they speak about it. I was like, whoa, and I thought I liked games, but like that's a good thing. But I still feel new compared to them to retro gaming.
Had you posted any of your stuff on Retroware before? Because I know that you're featured every time you post a video up on ScrewTech, but I don't know if you posted on Retroware as well.
Yeah, I posted, I think, before that, 3 or 4 of my videos, and they featured one in the user submission, which is, as of this date, it's currently down the user submission, but it'll be back up soon. But yeah, back then it was featured. It was like a user submission that was featured for like a week long on that, and yeah, that was kind of mind blowing at the time. I was like, wow, we got featured on Retroware. Because like when I get featured on Screw Attack, that blows my mind each time. Still, like I love the Screw Attack guys, but I was like, front page on 2 sites. Holy shit! That was a really good moment for me.
Now, what's a song that you really want to cover for Epic Game Music?
One that I really want to cover without giving too much stuff away is the key of that one. A lot of people have been getting at me for, let me think here. Illusion of Gaia, I think, is one people want me to do. I still really have to wrap my head around that. But as far as what I want to do, I think Ninja Turtles is something I really want to do. Uh, there's Figaro Castle from Final Fantasy VI. I really, really want to get that done, and I have sort of big plans for that song when I do it. And let me think. I really want to cover something from Mutant Mudds because the music for that is stellar. I just haven't had the chance yet. To just sit down. Like it's really complicated, so I have to sit down and learn it. And I haven't had that much time to listen to it, so it helps to listen to it a lot before I actually try and figure out the music. Well, there's one thing I've been hinting on doing for a long time that like I hinted at in my April Fool's video, which was the Final Fantasy VII medley. I actually want to do that, but at the same time, I kind of want to keep teasing people with doing it, not doing it like that, just because I think that's funny. But in all seriousness, I do want to do something from Final Fantasy VII. So look for that at some point.
Now, who are some of your favorite YouTubers that are in the same genre as you, producing game related music?
in the same genre. Doing game music. Let me think. Well, Smooth McGrew. That guy is a legend, and just how he does that boggles my mind. He was telling me some of the things he does, but yeah, like he does vocals, and that's his own thing, and that's really hard to do because it's really easy to be pitchy and it sound like shit, and he makes it sound amazing. Um, Family Jewels 7X is one other person. Um, he does almost exactly the same thing as I do, but he's more metal. And for his videos, he films solely in his room, whereas I go out and like film places. So that's the difference between me and him. You should definitely keep a lookout for him because that guy's going places. Ari Plane from GameTabs.net. That person's really good. Sorry there, I had a burp. Let me think. Who else? I think Alochi, Ginger Tea. She is really good at the Orcana, and she just makes amazing stuff. And I think in the next year she's going to produce some really good stuff. So watch out for her. And I think that's it off the top of my head for people within my field that are also really good.
What are some of your favorite movies?
Some of my favorite movies, eh? Well, uh, Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all times. Like, once again, like the music is great. The special effects, even some of them stand up today. You know, some of the textures look a bit rough, but I don't know. That's just a feel good movie, back to front. You know, it's a really big adventure. Some of my other favorite movies, Evil Dead, the first Evil Dead, which is I don't know, it's hard to tell because some of it is so campy, but the other half is actually legitly scary. Like there's really good moments, and I know it was sort of intended as a satire, but moments definitely come up that are legitly scary with that. Let's see, movies. There's this other movie that's a horror movie that my buddies and I got really obsessed with in high school, simply because it's so ludicrous. It's a horror movie called Extro, and like it's probably the craziest movie you'll ever see. You have to look it up and see it for yourself. Like there's such things that happen in the movie as like uh, a woman giving birth to a full grown man, and just like I don't know, there's midgets and there's live tigers. There's toy soldiers that turn into huge toy soldiers and stuff like that. It's possibly the trippiest movie you'll ever see, but it is so bad that is laughingly funny. So definitely go check that out.
A woman giving birth to a full-grown man.
Yeah, no joke. It would be graphic if it weren't so ridiculous, basically. Like, because like they have these like fake legs and he's sort of like popping out and and he bites off his own umbilical cord as well, and it's just so stupid that it's just hilarious.
What the fuck?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
I haven't even seen this movie, and I just think like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Put that link in the description. I will send you the extra trailer, and you put it in the description.
Oh sweet Jesus! Something I've done in past episodes, just as an experiment, just a little word association. Association. I know how to speak English.
All right.
I say something that comes to mind, and then you just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the word or phrase.
Totally. All right. All right. Let's go for it.
All right. Let's start off with something simple like Mega Man.
Rutabaga. No, just kidding. Blue.
Castlevania.
Whip.
ScrewTech.com.
Awesome.
Stuttering Craig.
Cool guy.
Brental Floss.
Nice guy.
Superman 64.
Oh, that's not a word, but that counts.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Buddy of ours, Kanan.
Okay, cool girl.
Pro Jared.
For some reason, I was just gonna say music there because I did his theme, but like I guess that's word association there. Music,
Final Fantasy.
amazing. The classic ones though, not the new ones.
Actually, branching off into a separate question that I just thought up of.
All right,
Wait,
go ahead.
at what point do you feel Final Fantasy started to stagnate?
Actually, once it started to go 3D, and I'm not sure why. Like 7 and 8 were fine. 8 actually I never completed, and that's weird because I did have interest, but I'm not sure what robbed my interest from it. Um, but yeah, a lot of it was the limitations of the systems. Like when you expand that and you can do whatever you want, um, it's hard to get creative because you just kind of go insane. Whereas like if you have the limitations, it makes you more creative because you have to figure out how to get around those. So I think maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, I think it going 3D for sure had something to do with it. I'm not sure why
You know, it's interesting that you say that Final Fantasy started to derail at starting with the 3D games, at least personally for you, because like
though.
kind of like the same thing with Castlevania, because like the 2D Castlevania games for the most part were really damn good. They were pretty much some of the best games around, and the 3D Castlevania games, not just including the 64 games, but also the games released on like the PS2 and the original Xbox, they didn't do as well and didn't play as well as like the 2D Castlevanias, whether it be a platformer or a Metroidvania style.
Well, that's because that's partly because with the old Castlevanias, you had like a tried, test and true style and gameplay and like mechanics and physics, like that all came together and they refined them over the games, till they were really well done. Till like Symphony and Night, where that's probably the best one. But yeah, the absolute 3D ones, well, it's a totally different thing and it has different mechanics. Um, Making everything 3D, which they used to do with every single game, was a stupid idea. Because like, if you already have something you know works, why bother going to the 3D didn't add anything to the gameplay. Basically, it was just its own separate thing, and it was just really clumsy. Like maybe if they tried a new one now, maybe, but like clearly since it's all gone back to 2D, like that's the magic and that's what works. So yeah, so they should base their mechanics around that.
You had a album come out some time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
255 Battles with the Cursed Shield.
Yes, sir.
What is the significance of the name of the album?
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting question because not a lot of people get that. It's from Final Fantasy VI. Um, there's this item called the Curse Shield, which just kind of weighs you down and it sucks. But if you do 255 battles with it, it turns into the Paladin Shield, and it's a whole new thing, and it's actually useful. I believe that's the Paladin Shield. I'm sure I screwed that up, and there'll be like people writing in the comments actually be like, you don't know your Final Fantasy VI. But I do. Anyways, and yeah, why that's significant, why I called it that is like because for a long time I was doing the epic game music, uh, just 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 basically for fun, but it was taking up a lot of my time, and it seems sort of like a burden sometimes. Not that I dislike doing it, but it's just like it wasn't getting me anywhere. It wasn't like doing anything. So, and then it started to become more popular, and and then I started to make some money off it. And so that's sort of the metaphor for it, that like epic game music is sort of like the curse shield that's turning into the paladin shield or something like that. I know that sounds super pretentious, but I don't know, that just seemed like a good metaphor at the time.
Can we expect another album from Mr. James Arnold?
Oh, definitely, definitely we can expect another album. An epic game music one for sure. That'll probably be coming out. I'm gonna guess it. Um, Maybe 2 months from now. I still have to figure that out because when you produce an album, like you have to go back and take all the tracks and make them sound the exact same quality, which they're not necessarily in their YouTube form because I'm not thinking of them as a whole. So I have to go do that. I got to figure out a title and sort of a theme. Um, but one album that I will be coming out with. Um, my mom and I are actually we're doing an album. We're raising money for charity for the Canadian Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation and Vascular Foundation of Canada. And basically, it's a compilation CD, and it'll have Brental Floss, DJ Cutman, the Mahones, um, and we have like a crap load of people that are on that. So that's going to come out sometime in February, and that's going to be purely for charity. And I'm probably going to be doing a live stream on the launch, a 24-hour live stream, because that seems like that's actually surprisingly effective. I know we were talking about Kanan earlier, or you mentioned her name. She did that, and that was super successful. So I'm going to try and do the same thing, and that should be a really good album for sure.
Will that album be just full of original work by all those artists, including yourself, or will it just be like a compilation of some of their more famous songs?
A little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. It just depends what they want to send in. Like I already have most of the tracks in. A lot of them are exclusive. Some of them are just like old songs that they felt like sharing. But yeah, we're still not sure on how much it'll cost or anything like that. But I'm sure I'm sure we'll sort that out soon. Just because we're in that process of just getting the info and the tracks, and that's sort of the slowest process of it. But like, yeah, it should be something really good.
All right, it's time to answer some lightning round questions. Just
Okay.
quick questions, quick answers. Ready?
All right. Yeah.
And starting off with, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food is pizza.
What is your favorite drink, whether alcoholic or non-alcoholic?
My favorite drink is probably Diet Coke.
I shake my head at
That's that. Wait. That's actually like the worst answer ever. I changed that. I changed that. Green tea actually. I drink that the most.
you. Dogs or cats?
Cats. Cats for life.
What is your favorite curse word?
My favorite curse word is shit. I think. It might be fuck, but let's go with shit for now.
Being a little unique, I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Who is your favorite band or artist?
My favorite artist, actually, I think is Pink Floyd.
Final question: would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Fighting the 100 duck-sized horses sounds more fun for some reason. I'm not sure I'd actually win that. That sounds like many of them.
All right, so final question before we end this interview.
Yeah.
What does music mean to you, and since you've been a musician for so long, how important is music to James Ronald?
Music is actually very important, especially where I am in music, because like now I can take just a thought in my head of like if I get a song in my head, I can make it happen like instantly, which is a good feeling because it's something you want to communicate. And, that's something humans strive for. We love communication. That's why we have smartphones and Facebook and like YouTube and stuff like that, is we just really want to share our thoughts with other people. So the ability of me to instantly do that is like I'm really blessed that I can do that. And that's partly because I'm musically inclined, and the other half is I worked really hard to get to that stage of music. So yeah, that's why it's very important. That's why it's very important to me. Just because it's very relieving. It's a very good outlet. If there's anything going on for me to be able to do that, and yeah, and I can talk to people and other musicians, and get their musical ideas and share that with them. And yeah, it is super important, and I recommend anyone who's ever had the inkling of wanting to play an instrument, it's never too late to go out and do that. I know some people think, oh, I'm already like 25, I'm not going to learn it. It's like you can, you just got to want to do it. And when you do it, and if you take it to a certain level, it'll benefit your life greatly. So yeah, that's why music is important to me.
All right, James, I'd like to thank you for your time once again.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. That was a blast.
And for all of you watching at home, you can watch Epic Game Music on RetroWareTV.com first, and then they show up on James's YouTube channel the very next day. Just search for Epic Game Music and you'll be able to find it. Follow him on Twitter at Epic Game Music, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
And any other social media that you like to pimp out?
Facebook.com/Epic Game Music. And I think that's it. Maybe Snapchat. Do I have a Snap? No, I don't have a Snapchat.
Also, download 255 Battles with the Cursed Shield. It's a badass album. I have it downloaded. I listen to it every now and then. Great music from an extremely talented musician. And also, subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. And follow me on Twitter at NathanGraves989 so that you can find out who the next guest is going to be at the Nathan Graves Show. And that is going to be it for this episode. Once again, I'd like to thank James for joining me for this inaugural episode of 2014. And
thank you.
And hopefully it's going to be a big year for the Nathan Graves Show. And with that being said, this is NathanGraves99 signing off.